Hello, everyone. Sorry about starting a little late today. I just had a problem. Technology is difficult today for some reason for me. How's it going, Andy?
Pretty good. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, you hear you fine. Great.
Cool.
Hey, Steve, how's it going?
All right. How are things going?
Not bad, not bad.
You hear me okay?
Well, yeah, I hear you fine. Little quiet, but I can hear you.
Okay.
Pretty cool there.
I have two questions. Should I
Yeah,
shoot
sure,
with,
jump in.
should I shoot with them?
You
One
were the
is
first ones here, so yeah.
okay. That sounds good. One is sort of a simpler one. I just want to have clarified. In the QuickBooks login uh, JavaScript file, the grant URL, at the end of that, you're supposed to attach the company ID as a parameter. So the grant URL is the callback for that you send in when you log in. You guys following me?
Yeah.
So the company ID, I was looking over the documents. I just wanted to verify exactly what that is, because it's at least for me it's not exactly clear. Is that the ID? I'm writing a software as a service where my customers for my product are we're syncing and managing their accounts in QuickBooks, or we're uh, grabbing certain data from their QuickBooks accounts, right? And so forth. That ID is my ID. Is that right? It's not. I'm
No,
not.
the company ID is the ID for every company that is QuickBooks Online. So every company in QuickBooks Online will have its own company ID.
Okay.
Sometimes in the documentation, you might even see it referred to as Realm ID,
Right.
but that's the one piece that's kind of consistent, right? So that's what differentiates customer A's QuickBooks Online from customer B's from customer C's. It's that company ID is the unique identifier.
So right. So I guess what I'm asking is, when I authenticate a new user with that grant URL, am I supposed to modify that that parameter value for my customers who have QuickBooks accounts, or is that a static value that's my company ID? I'm just not following exactly. So when I run through the authorization process, and I've done this in the sandbox, and the sandbox lists that ID in there as my sample company ID, right?
Correct. Yep.
So it's just confusing for me. Am I supposed to modify that ID for a user?
I'm not entirely so. I think you're talking about the authorization process, right?
Right.
You go through the OAuth widget. So during that, you're going to call our widget code, right? And our widget code is going to present the user with a bunch of choices, like which company are you going to authorize Steve's app to? And they will pick, because maybe they have more than one company, and they'll pick that company, and then we hand them back to you. That company ID will be in there. So now you know which QuickBooks Online company you have access to. So the sandbox, because you just have one sandbox, it's just defaulting to that one
Right, but I guess what I'm saying,
automatically.
so in my code, I have the qblogin.javascript file, and that has a grant URL, and that is the callback URL that's used by QuickBooks, right? And the parameter that's at the end of that URL is this company ID. What I'm asking is that ID, do I need to modify that when I authenticate one of my customers? So
I don't think you I mean, on your end, if anybody wants to jump in on this, I mean, the company ID is static, right? So if I'm the customer and that unique company ID identifies my QuickBooks data, you're always going to want to write to that data, right? So imagine somewhere on your end, you're going to have a table of here's the QuickBooks company IDs, and they map to instances of your app on your end, right?
so
Like I don't think you would change that.
That's what I'm asking though. Is that my app? Is that my ID, or is that for my customers?
That is your customer's QuickBooks file. Now, in your case, it happens to be your sandbox company.
Right. So,
but if you had 10 customers or 10 QuickBooks companies, you'd have 10 different numbers depending on which one you were working with at that time, which one authorized in.
Yeah, and I would probably say too that realm ID or company ID would be the same ID if they had your app and our app. Is that true, David?
That's correct. The company ID is the unique identifier for that instance of QuickBooks Online. So if somebody has 10 apps, all those developers are going to use the same company ID when they talk to that customer's QuickBooks.
Okay, so is that? So I guess that's what I'm confused about. This company ID, is that I work for BizSlate. We're making a software as a service.
Okay.
And we're our customers who we sign up may have QuickBooks accounts, and what I'm asking is when we run through the sign-in process, do I need, is that ID their ID,
their ID,
customers'
their ID? Yeah.
So that's their ID for their QuickBooks account. So when they log into my app and then I hit the sign in with QuickBooks, then I need to modify that JavaScript to put in their account number. Is that right?
I'm going to disable my video and hopefully the audio won't pick up as much. Can you guys still hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, it's kind of a mapping, right? So that company ID is part of the QuickBooks file, and I'm actually trying to sign into QuickBooks right now, and I can do a screenshot.
Okay.
Now, I mean, on the surface, customers don't know that company ID because they don't really use it. But obviously, there could be across the country or around the world, there could be 500 companies called AAA Towing, right? How do you know as a developer which AAA towing company to send data to? You don't, so each company has to have a company ID.
Right.
So on your side, you guys have some sort of ID system for your customers, right? Every instance that you spin up. So it's somewhere along the line, there's probably, on your end, you probably have to keep track of that company ID. You wouldn't modify the company ID, but you keep track of it because when you send a request to write to the data or read the data, you're going to have to pass that company ID in over and over again.
Right. I follow that, but this is before they've logged in, before they've associated their QuickBooks account, with the BizSlate app, and so forth. So I guess so that is not a generic ID for BizSlate. That is the ID for my customer and their QuickBooks account. So I need to modify that script whenever one of my customers wants to authenticate for the first time to QuickBooks, and therefore I need to prompt them for what is your QuickBooks ID before we run through this first process. Is that?
No. So when you have, the connect to QuickBooks button.
Yeah.
So when you use our code, our widget code, we prompt the user to pick their QuickBooks company, if necessary. Sometimes they only have one, and we don't have to ask them that question. We know which company they want, right?
Okay.
So we prompt them, and then
Right.
once they tell us, we hand them to you, and we're giving you the company ID. You don't need to ask them for the company ID.
Okay. So then explain to me. So that's fine. And then there is this JavaScript file that we need to include that is called qblogin.js. This is a file that we received from you guys, and this includes the grant URL, and in that URL, the example that I saw, and the only way I've made it work is to include the this company ID as a parameter on that URL. So if we don't, should I just try leaving that off? Maybe it's not doing anything. I don't know exactly. I mean, it's running through. It's
Well, in theory, right? Like for every call you make, you're gonna have to send that ID, right?
Right. So I follow you, but the first one, that's what I'm really focused on. Later on, I have it working that where once we run through the authentication process, we're storing there are two keys that we store for our
Yep.
customers and so forth, and that all works. I have that working in the sandbox, but so we run we run through all that. We receive these two keys that are valid for a number of months, or however it is, and then we're using those to retrieve data from their account, and that's all fine. I guess what I'm asking is, though, that first time, when they when we need when our customer needs to authenticate and run through the process, they see the little pop-up that heads up that says makes them log in to QuickBooks, and then they attach their account to the BizSlate app, and so forth. When that happens, I need to use this JavaScript file, and this file has this grant URL, and like I said, the examples that I've seen have this company ID parameter at the end of this. And so what I'm asking is, you seem to be saying I don't need that to be part of that. I've never tried leaving it off and seeing if it still works, but the only way I've had it work is if I put this company ID parameter on that URL, and and that is the number that is in my sandbox for my account.
I don't know if the grant is the first one that you should be sending. I
Well,
don't.
I'm not sending it at all.
Well, let me just tell you what I've been doing. Uh, and again, I don't know. I came in a little bit late, so I don't know if you're using OAuth or whatever. But we use OAuth, and we send that the regular generic URL down. The user will then see a authentication request, and it starts with them logging in. So at that time, we don't know what realm, we don't even know what customer.
Okay.
Then they have to put in their user ID and password and
Right.
make
Right. You're right.
select the company, and that will come back to us, and that will give us the realm ID and some other stuff.
Right. But how does that come back? All the examples I've seen, you need to specify this.
No, the first one can't be. I think the grant comes later after you do the first set of handshaking. So you first give it your consumer key and your secret so that Intuit knows who you are, and then it brings up the login screens for the user, and so that after he logs in, and you can see your logo there that says, "Do you want to authorize this program?" He says authorize, and then you get back in the realm ID and some other stuff, so that you can then go and do a grant.
Okay.
So I think like you're missing the first step or two.
Say it again. I'm sorry.
I think you were missing the first step or two when you were discussing about the grant needing a realm ID or company ID. I think something comes first before that.
Okay. So you're saying that the realm ID is returned to me, and then I should use that with the grant URL. Is that right?
I believe so. I don't recall the details. We put ours in, I don't know, 2 years ago.
You have to send the OAuth token in secret as well, in the headers, I think.
Well, that's part of the process. We're retrieving those later, so we don't have those yet. Is that right?
No, that comes back with your realm ID, I believe, right?
Yeah, I would think so.
I just linked something and David linked something for the OAuth process. All of this is the OAuth process, and your OAuth token and secret should come back with the realm ID.
Right. That actually works. That all works. So I guess I'll try it again. I guess what you're saying is, so what do you know about this JavaScript file then? That it seems as though I need it, that has the grant URL in there. I mean, do I need to construct that
the grant URL, that's for handling your OAuth response. So you set up an endpoint that's going to get your OAuth response back from after they log in.
Right.
Yes. So you have to create an endpoint that will receive the OAuth response with realm ID and stuff, and that's it.
So, but does that grant URL, that's what I've been talking about, this whole time. The example has that company ID as a parameter to that grant URL. So you're saying that, and that's the URL that I send in, that I'll be sent these values back, right? So what I thought, and maybe I'm wrong here, is I needed to put the company ID on that grant URL, because that's what all the examples have, or the examples I saw. So that's where I'm confused, I guess.
I guess the answer is yes, you do, but it's after you do the initial handshaking that you get the grant, and so you can put it in there. The realm ID or company ID is not the first thing you do.
I see. Okay. Well, then I'll look at that at the sequence. I thought you needed that in place sooner in the process. Okay, so I will look at that. Thanks very much. I have one more thing.
Yeah.
Sorry, yes?
Go ahead.
So the other thing I have is I had all this working a while ago, running with the grant URL as localhost. So I was using my local machine, and it seemed to be working. So I set localhost in my grant URL, as well as in there's a property file that that you have that specifies that URL as well in a property file that we have in our J2E server. There are like 4 or 5 lines in it, and the last one is the URL for the callback. So if I set that to localhost, I thought I had that working, that it would work in the right way. It seems though that I can't get that to work now. That works on our server in the cloud. So if I don't put in a localhost, but I put in the address of the actual server, then it works fine. But if I try and run locally, I can't make that work. Should that work with localhost as the callback?
If it's out there on your real servers, usually it's not going to work when it has localhost, because sometimes that's just a thing people do on mistake. Developers forget to pull out localhost, and then everything starts breaking.
Right.
But on your local dev machine, in theory, that should probably be handling it okay.
It does. I just did it.
So where should I put localhost on my local? See, I'm trying to run this locally on my local machine, and then we have an app server that runs in the cloud, that has a real address. That actually works, but when I'm running locally, should it work as well? I guess you say you just tried it. Where do I need to put a localhost in the property file, as well as the grant URL?
You just need to, if you're running local, are you running your server locally as well, or are you sending the grant URL to your backend? Does that make sense?
So I'm running. We run on Glassfish, and I'm running that locally on my laptop here. So
then you should change your grant URL to be your local host.
And do you also need to change that callback URL as well, or what should that be set to?
It should just be whatever URL you want the OAuth to hit. So if you're running your server locally and you want it to hit localhost, then it should hit localhost. And if you're not running locally, then it should hit whatever, wherever your server is, whatever the endpoint is that handles the OAuth redirect.
But I guess I'm running locally, right? But I mean, if you put localhost in the callback, how would you know what that means? You have to have the exact address, right? Or
yeah, you put the full address of the endpoint that you want the redirect to hit. So can you see the chat? If you hover over the left side, there's a thing pops up, chat. So there's 2 links here, and then I pasted in. So this was So we created an endpoint. We're using Angular, so we have an endpoint that passes a backend server. So we created an endpoint. It's a localhost endpoint, and it gets all of these. These are all just URL parameters. So it comes back in the URL, and then you take your URL parameters. I don't know if you're sending it directly to your backend or if you're forwarding it from your front end to your backend, but you'll get all of these. So if it's like hitting your backend right away, like how ASP.NET sort of works, then I'm not familiar with Glassfish, then you would parse the parameters out of the URL and handle it. Otherwise, you need to forward it to your backend.
Okay. All right.
Does that make sense? Also, those other two links are really good reads. They help explain OAuth and how the redirect stuff works pretty well.
Okay.
Yeah, I forgot about the blog post. The first link's really, it's a good overview of the whole process and a lot of tips and tricks and stuff like that. The second link that I put was just like boring, plain old documentation, but definitely the first link Matt put is really, really, really helpful for a lot of stuff.
Okay, yeah, that's a little bit sooner. I think that was fairly recent, so that's good. All right. Okay, sounds good. That was very helpful.
Yeah, hopefully, if you get really, really stuck, like something, you can always create a support ticket.
All right, yeah.
Or a forum post too. Like if you're like, hey, I don't, like sometimes it's just a matter of you creating a ticket, pasting your code, and somebody like, oh, it's that right there, and then they paste you back the right code, and then you kind of go from there sometimes.
Right. Okay, great. Thanks very much, guys.
Awesome. Thanks, Steve.
Okay, bye.
Bye. I'm trying to turn my camera back on and see if it doesn't get too choppy again.
Hey, David.
Yes.
How you doing? Hi,
Not
guys.
bad, not
Hi,
bad.
everybody. Hey, question. That Get app thing from the QBO chat yesterday?
Yes.
Do you know much about that? I mean, do you know how many people are using that? It's the minimum is a $1,000 investment.
Oh, they charge to be listed there?
Yeah.
Oh, that I didn't know. I've talked to those guys. I've been on their podcast, and I was just always wondering, like, I wonder how the revenue model is. Oh, they charge you $1,000 to list there. That I did not know.
It starts at $1,000, and then what that is it's a credit. So they credit you $1,000, and then every click is $4, and it's not entirely clear to me exactly what a click is, whether that's like Google AdWords, a click would be a click through to our website. On GetApp, I'm thinking it's a click through to the detailed information in GetApp.
Like your app card on GetApp.
Yeah, exactly. And I checked with Sean, Invoice Sherpa, because he's listed out there, and he said he doesn't get a ton of traffic through there, but he is listed, and I'm thinking maybe he got listed. He said he's been on there for a long time, so it might be that he got on there when maybe it was free at one point.
Interesting. I didn't know it was a pay-to-play type store. That's interesting. It kind of shows some value of apps.com, right?
Absolutely. Oh, yeah, absolutely. No question.
The thing is, like, it kind of a competing marketplace at some level, right? And at some level it's not, right? Because it's where ultimately QuickBooks Online's on there, right? Ultimately, all we really care about is a small business owner getting the right apps they need, right? And finding what they need. And so we're both in the same place on that, I think. But obviously, like, I had no idea that because I was wondering that, though. I was like, I wonder what the revenue, because I was yesterday in the chat, because I've talked to those guys a couple times, and I was just like, yesterday that bell went off from them, like, wonder what the revenue model is, like, how are they doing this? Now I get it. So they're basically charging for space,
Yeah, and I'll tell you, it's not easy to find out the pricing. You have to actually start to sign up for, to be listed there, and then the last step is, okay, which do you want, 1,000 or 3,000 or something else? And I said, well, I don't want any of those right now. I want to find out if it's really worth it. We're on Google AdWords, and I think AdWords gets a whole lot more visibility than GetApp. For GetApp, you have to actually get to GetApp, if you know what I'm saying. So you don't know, can you hear me still?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yep.
Okay. You don't know if you haven't heard feedback from other apps that are using GetApp and how that's going for them.
No, I have not. I know that other than me, like I was on their podcast and interviewed by those guys. Like they kind of are trying. They're trying to get more in touch with the QuickBooks Pro Advisor community now and trying to get other eyeballs to their site. But at some level, yeah, it's in a strange kind of way, it's a competing product to apps.com.
Yeah.
Theirs is open to all apps, not just apps that work with QuickBooks.
Right.
But I definitely because I know some other developers who've talked about like the traffic you get from apps.com. Obviously, you have to do code to get there, right? And get on apps.com and support QBO, and then build out ID. But the traffic you get per click is like such a good value once you start getting that traffic.
Yeah.
Right. Because you're not
Absolutely.
paying for a search result that doesn't convert from Google or like about $4. So hopefully you're only paying $4 to click to when they click to visit your website, not just the app card.
That's what I would hope. I'll email them and ask them for clarification about that. But yeah, it's I was just wondering how that's been. I had a point there. Or a question. I've lost it though. It'll come back.
Unfortunately, those guys are. I think they're based in France. So it's not like right now if I tried to ping them, hey, jump in on the Hangout, they'd probably be able to jump on right now. But with a little planning ahead, I could have one of those guys like Jimmy or somebody jump on and answer those types of questions.
Okay. Matt, that's a riot.
What happened?
His chat. He's spam clicking the competition. Oh, God.
Yeah, everybody get a bill. Actually, that's really interesting because, like, they hit me up to ask pro advisors to review QBO. And so, yeah, if that's the case, I'm sending a bunch of clicks to the page and it's costing Intuit money to review them. I guess. I don't know. That's kind of interesting. Yeah, so it's an app store, has reviews. Who knows where,
That's what I was going to say, is it's really difficult getting our users to go out and write reviews. They say, yeah, we'll do it, and it's a pain in the butt getting them to actually do it. And so and that's why I asked that question during the chat yesterday. Is there any way to get the reviews from apps.com to also appear on GetApps? Because otherwise, trying to get a user to do 2 reviews is going to be, they're going to say, sorry, we just don't have the time. We love you, but we're just going to do it in one place.
Yeah. And I informally talked to those guys about that. I was like, wouldn't it be cool in the future, like just like right now, if you go to get a movie review, like sometimes Amazon or Netflix will be like, here's the review from Netflix, here's the review from Amazon, here's the review from Rotten Tomatoes, and you could see consolidated reviews from around the net on one movie. And I'm like, oh, that'd be cool if you could see that for apps.
Yeah.
So I loosely kind of just kick that around with them. But even still, like, I mean, I pinged QuickBooks Online users to go write reviews, and there's still only 13 reviews for QuickBooks Online on GetOut.
Oh,
there's
wow.
900,000.
Yeah.
There's 900,000 QuickBooks Online users, or small businesses, right?
Yeah.
So obviously, it's a tough set. I mean, it's a marketplace. It's worldwide. It's not everybody knows about it, right? They're just now crossing the line where some of our community knows about it.
Yeah, exactly.
And I
Yeah.
know first they were kind of going out into they kind of were heading down towards the zero community, and then they kind of discovered us, and then now they kind of are touching on both. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. Like I was on their podcast, and I think I have the most video views of all their podcasts yet so far. So I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
And I
Well,
think they interviewed Guy Kawasaki too, and I have the most views.
oh,
of their-
wow. Wow. The other thing is the Google AdWords thing. I don't know. Have did you sent an email out to?
I saw that chain, and then I think they replied to you again, because I think you
Yeah.
said something Tuesday morning, and
Yeah, Andy said that he had already submitted it. He was going to follow up with Google. I checked just a little bit ago. It still is not, approved. And God, it's going on 2 months now to try to get that approved.
And what I did is I really brought up to the apps.com marketing team managers, and I was just like, hey, like add this to your things that needs to be fixed, the broken process, right? And it's not, then the email for, oh yeah, we already contacted that guy, he's working on it with Stephanie, and I'm like, but this happens, like William had a different developer. It's like there's something not right in this Google AdWords process, and they just need to attack it. Now, with that said, it might take 6 months for them to improve the process.
Right, I know.
But unfortunately, Steph, like this is always what happens. There's always somebody that has to suffer.
I know.
It used to
I
be
understand that.
Transaction Pro Importer, because they were kind of an early adopter of the APIs for QBO, and they were out there and they used every single API call. So they were always discovering something wrong with some API call. But not all the developers are getting the benefit of stuff that they found first.
Right. Well, it's like it's the same thing,
Yeah.
Yeah.
The bleeding edge catches up to us always.
Exactly. So no, I get it. It's just that we're willing to spend money advertising, apps.com essentially, and and it's just hard getting to the point of having it 100% approved.
Yeah, if there's it'd be interesting if we could somehow whitelist the apps.com guys or something, where that's one of the benefits of being on apps.com. You don't have to jump through that hoop, right?
Exactly.
Maybe if you're not on apps.com, that's one of the benefits. So I think it's something we need to look into and figure that out and streamline that, because the more apps that come in apps.com, there's going to be that many more AdWords that are going to be run out, et cetera.
Right.
But I understand why the polls have to be there, because there's been some. I've seen ads. Obviously, I get targeted QuickBooks ads all the time.
Yeah.
And I've seen some ads that were, wait a second, that is like either a completely false claim or it's misrepresenting.
Yeah.
You read it and you're like, that makes it like it's a QuickBooks product or an Intuit product, or a lot of number one claims. There are a lot of those out there.
Yeah.
The number one QuickBooks this, or the number one. Yeah.
Exactly. I've seen some of those. Okay, well that's all I've got.
Unfortunately, I don't. Yeah, it's not. I don't have an answer yet, other than I've branded up the flag and kind of brought attention to the fact that this is kind of a pain in the butt for our developers, especially the apps.com guys.
Yeah.
I would love to see where we have, because like we're obviously right now if you're on apps.com, you get a subset of benefits, right, versus a developer that's not. Mm-hmm. It'd be interesting if we could, really tier that to where, and you get Express Google AdWords support, and you get, this type of thing or this type of thing.
Yeah.
Would be nice. We can start to, especially now that we're doing QB locals and other stuff, it would be really nice if and if you're apps.com, you get to attend one QuickBooks local for free, or I don't know, like really tier that differentiation factor,
Yeah. So Andy and Jack and Matt, have you guys used GetApp? Are you guys listed out on GetApp? Okay. Yeah.
Not me.
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess I got to get back to work. Jack, I'll be emailing you soon with some updates.
Alrighty.
Talk to you later. You guys have a great weekend.
Bye, Stephanie.
Bye. Hey, Jack. Were you able to connect with Jan Hagel anymore about the whole railroad that weird railroad report format,
Well,
invoice format?
not anymore. She wanted something yesterday, and I said we could probably do
Okay.
it. You have to work on it.
Okay. Yeah, because I think she has a client that's like in a bind, and they have 500 invoices. They have to get converted to this standard for the railroad industry. So, and it's really interesting. It's the first time I've ever heard about it, and I started Googling it. I was like, oh, wow, there's a whole nother, it's kind of like EDI, but just for railroads. And I guess they invoice per car.
Sounds like they're getting railroaded to me.
Yeah, and then there's something about like the size of the invoice. It has to be under some certain number of characters or something uh, for each, some sort of e-transfer of these invoices around. So they want to take a bunch from QuickBooks and turn them into this format. I'm like, if Jack could maybe do it, that was what I thought for her.
We've done a bunch of interesting things, but we haven't done it already since she wanted something yesterday. So.
Every day there's another niche every day.
It's just like anything else, we interface with so many different platforms, and every time somebody comes out, oh yeah, we're going to use XML SUP, or we're going to use JSON, but everyone is totally different. It's a standard for giving you something, and everything's different.
Yeah, but we were talking about this even internally, like even our own teams. It's like some people are using Dropbox, some people are using Box.net, some people are using Office 365, and like we can't even agree on a place to like share a document. Never mind code standards. Like whatever is going to use, it's pretty funny.
So did you have a nice talk with Jeremy and Ben yesterday, David?
Yeah, a little bit of clarification around what we're doing with Vicinity Brew and some of the goals we have with the Microsoft Dynamics people. So, yeah, definitely. It's nice to talk to those guys as always. Because I talked to Vicinity Brew and I just thought it was interesting. They're like, oh, we're going to use SalesPad to integrate with QBO, and I'm like, oh, really? I'm talking to those guys this week. I'll ask them about that.
Yeah, I don't ever know what I'm allowed to say, what I'm not allowed to say, so you know what I mean?
Oh, I see. I just say and then hope I don't get caught.
Yeah, I think I've been caught a few too many times that way, though.
And now it's recorded on YouTube forever.
Yeah. I wonder how many people actually go out and watch these.
I don't know after the fact. I think once I start maybe start doing guests every week and getting that first hour recorded and permanently out there, and then when it shows up in some Google searches, yes. Now I did leave last week's up. Previously I've just been deleting them, so I'll leave this week's up also because like all those, in theory, when Google translates the audio to text, and they usually list all that at the bottom of the video. Now the YouTube video is searchable, and so if somebody's searching for QuickBooks OAuth, they could watch that part of the discussion, or at least see the audio of it.
That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah. Hey, I'm gonna come right back. I need to get a sweater. I'm just a little bit chilly. Hold on one second. Okay, I'm back.
Are you coming out to Detroit for the local one?
No.
Oh, wow.
Well, wait. Detroit's when?
July 21 or something?
Yeah, probably not. Um, so the local events are really geared towards small business owners,
Sure.
and they're not really geared towards the accountants or even the developers in a strange kind of way, right? We'll probably do some sort of local, like a drink up or something for developers that are local in the area. But specifically me, I'm probably not going to some of the events.
Got it.
I'm definitely not doing Boulder, which I think is next week. And then trying to look at some of the other. Some of them are not good for me on a personal calendar basis. Trying to see when the. Yeah, I can't do Boulder. I can't do Atlanta. Um, Detroit is actually one of the few that actually makes kind of sense on my calendar. And then where's the Austin one? September 22nd. Yeah, the Austin one is possible, maybe. Um, and then even the Seattle one's probably off the table because it looks can be wedding weekend. So
Yeah.
the October 8th one. So they all let me paste these into the chat. All these dates here. I'll paste them into the main chat for us, and then I'm going to paste those on the external chat. Showcase, I think they call it. Oh, that doesn't actually. That you only put links in the showcase. Okay, so let me link to the actual Twitter post where I have the information. Yeah. There you go, everybody. I think the link to the chat. Or to the 5 dates. Not the TV local events. Tristan, you made it. So Tristan, do you want to go down to the office, or are you working from home today, or Oakland, or?
You there, David?
Yes, if it's just a delay, like I'm clicking and go ahead. It took forever to unmute the mic.
Okay. I was going to ask you, so I forgot to check quick. I've been getting 500s on the inventory evaluation summary report. I was wondering if you, when I'm hitting my sandbox, I didn't check. One second, I'll check.
There was a chain about throttling limits on the sandbox this week. I didn't totally read all of it.
I wouldn't get a 500 though, I don't think, for that.
Yeah, I think they're getting a 403 on those throttling problems.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, it's a big chain about how, well, this doesn't happen in production, it's just a sandbox issue, blah, 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 blah. So No, clear. Let me just see if there's any other change. 500s. Let's see. Hey, Tristan, you haven't heard anything about the 500 or the sandboxes this week, have you?
Maybe something changed. I don't know. We would have changed anything in that code.
When did you start seeing those? Because there was a push.
This morning. I wasn't seeing them. I don't know. It's tough to say because I haven't been running like item imports for a while.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't notice them till this morning, but I don't think I was running items for the past 2 or 3 days. We're still working on stuff.
Because we did have a push this week. So maybe something got broke. Is it consistent? Like you get it every time?
Yes, it's every time. Yep. I don't think I'm getting it on the live. Oh, 1 second.
I think there's a deployment going out tonight too. It's like so. Deployment guys.
Oh.
Yeah, I'd say so there's a DevX deployment going out tonight.
Okay.
So if it's still happening on Monday, create a support ticket
Right. Sounds good.
and see maybe.
It's not killing us or anything, so it's not a big deal.
Okay.
The .NET SDK isn't out on GitHub, is it?
Which SDK?
.NET. There's an example, but I don't think it has everything in it.
I don't think that's on GitHub. I think there was some sample code on GitHub at one time for .NET, but I think the actual SDK is on our site, on the developer site.
Right. Okay.
think if we've gotten the search terms correct, if you just do SDK, you should get it. It's the page that lists all of them, but let's see on the developer site.
Yeah, it's on the QuickBooks accounting API. I have it. I was just wondering if it was on GitHub and I was just missing it. It's something we would consider forking.
Hmm. A little quiet today. I imagine next Friday is going to be quiet too. 3-day weekend. Friday.
Oh wow, is that next weekend already?
Yeah.
Holy
Well,
cow.
yeah. It is. Fiance said that. I was like, I think I'm taking next Monday off because like she's going to be in town. We need to finish getting moved in the new house, that type of stuff. And she's like, oh, really? You're going to take Monday off? I'm like, yeah. Like, oh, it's a holiday. Oh, okay.
I think you're up by a week.
Yeah. I should. Is it not Monday?
No, it's following Monday, 30. Is it? Get me confused here. Okay, yeah, well, it must be next week, yeah. Last Monday of the month is Memorial Day, right?
The 25th.
Yeah, okay, I was off. Wow, okay. Okay, that's pizza weekend. Great.
I mean, so you have to cancel meetings and things from Monday. I'll put that together here. We're getting a nice uptick in apps that are launching on apps.com because of the sort of scaling new heights. Like this is the time of the year it really ramps up, and we're pushing about 2 apps a day right now. It feels like a lot. So,
That's crazy. Better hurry up.
but I think in February, like 3 apps got pushed live the whole entire month. Like there's no, we can't seem to pace developers, right? They're like, oh, we want to get on there before the show, it definitely ramps up a lot. The internet just crawls here.
Well, I'm gonna head out, David. Good
All
talking
right,
to
have a
you.
good one. Yep.
See ya.